Last night, Mark Latham and I discussed his New South Wales Parliamentary Committee report into our failing schools, and today there's a new report highlighting just how bad things really are. It's not that our schools are understaffed or underfunded or even under-equipped. There's never been more teachers, more funding and better equipment, yet despite the record billions being thrown at the problem, Australia is going backwards on almost every measure against our international education competitors. In a report published today in the Sydney Morning Herald, Sydney University academic Rachel Wilson has found that 1 out of every 2 aspiring teachers are failing to finish their teaching degrees within 6 years. Now, mind you, teaching's a 3-year course, so even at 6 years, that's double the time it should take. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Dr Wilson also found that the number of students accepted into education courses with ATARs lower than 50, that is, lower than 50 out of 100, has grown 5-fold over the last 10 years. Wilson then goes on to confirm what almost every one of us knows, that teaching requires academic ability. And while the Teachers Federation says teachers should be drawn from the top 30% of graduates, clearly this is a long way away from the reality, and it's a good part of the reason why our students are falling behind. As Mark Latham's report into Education in New South Wales, he was the chair of this inquiry, shows, Australian students are doing much worse than they used to, and they're doing much worse than their peers in other countries. In New South Wales, for example, senior students today are a year and a half behind where they were in the year 2000 on reading issues. And in maths, they're 4 years behind. 4 years behind their contemporary equivalents in China. As Latham says, we shouldn't be worried so much about China's rise as much as we are worried about Australia's fall. And rather than begrudge their successes, now more than ever, we've got to lift our own game. Now, there's no mystery about what makes good schools. It's not necessarily money, although obviously money helps, but as I said, with record billions in funding, clearly that's not the immediate problem. Fundamentally, a good school needs a strong principal, committed, professional and smart teachers, engaged parents, a sound curriculum and perhaps above all, sensible teaching methods. Yet in New South Wales and to varying extents around Australia, poor principals and mediocre teachers can't be removed. We subsidise comparative failure, not success. And we persist with teaching methods that we know don't work, or at least don't work for all children, like whole word language training rather than phonics, and child-centred learning rather than teaching that's driven by the teacher with a sound grasp of the fundamentals. And God help us, an ATAR above 50 would be a good start. Yet instead of back to basics teaching, schools are expected to accommodate the passing political fads. And the whole curriculum, indeed, is actually underpinned, I'm not making this up, this was legislated under Julia Gillard, by a requirement that every subject include Asian, Indigenous and sustainability perspectives. Every subject. Woodwork, PE, maths, the whole lot. As if in Warren Mundine's words, you can have an Indigenous science rather than just a science subject. Now, to her credit, the relatively new Education Minister in New South Wales, Sarah Mitchell, she seems determined to make a difference, and Gladys Berejiklian says today that the status quo is no longer tenable. But it's one thing to enunciate good objectives and another to actually deliver them. From my time in government, I know how hard the education system conspires against any government who wants a back-to-basics approach or teachers shown the door when they don't perform. The real power here has got to be parents, because in the end, either as taxpayers or private school fee payers, or both, parents are shelling out thousands for a world-class education that their children are just not getting. And while yes, parents are being ripped off, as a nation, we're all the poorer too, because one day these students will be in charge of this country at a time when we're likely to face more challenges than ever as a nation.